Good afternoon, everyone. This is Zoeban Tibro. I am a research intern at Bangladesh Institute of Peace and Security Studies, BIPSS. And today we have a very esteemed guest with us. He has been in the sector of journalism for decades, and he is currently now the South Asia editor of 360 Info and the former executive editor of the Hindustan Times, Mr. Bharat Bhushan. Hello, sir. Welcome to Bangladesh and our regional conference on climate security. Sir, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope I know you will be attending a session tomorrow in our conference. You will be speaking at this conference, I believe. Before moving, without any further ado, because we are running very short in time, so we would like to directly jump toward our question section. This will be very this will be very short and concise section. My first question would be to you because we all have observed and noticed that Indian and Bangladeshi media have occasionally amplified nationalist rhetoric over shared rivers, because we all know that we share a good number of rivers between our countries, and but that complicated our technical solutions. As someone who has shaped editorial policies at major Indian outlets for decades and has chaired 1.5 track 1.5 dialogues, my bad, how can media on both sides of the countries, in your view, avoid framing climate-induced water scarcity as a civilizational battle, quote unquote, between India and Bangladesh? What role should platforms like 316.4 play in depoliticizing these issues? Because I believe you are the South Asian editor of 360 Info. So, sir, what are your takes?
So let me tell you what we do at 360 Info.
Yes, sir.
We don't let journalists write for us.
Yes, sir.
All our articles are written by experts and they're evidence based and research based. And we think that is one way of countering fake news and fake narratives of the kind that you just mentioned. Yes, a civilizational battle or whatever it is. Yes. So we identify researchers in universities, not in think tanks, not in NGOs, in universities and independent research institutions who are currently working on a particular issue, let's say transboundary sharing of waters, and we get them to write for us. So this way, all journalistic biases, all nationalistic biases are attenuated. They become much less. Okay, this is what we do at 316 folks. But what should journalists do? The answer is in your question itself. They should not be nationalistic. They should not be jingoistic. They should talk to experts because journalists are not transboundary resource experts or how to share them. But journalists should educate themselves on international laws governing transboundary sharing of resources. There are UN laws in it. There are treaties there. Inform yourself. The second thing is talk to experts on the other side. Indians should talk to Bangladeshi experts and Bangladeshi journalists should talk to Indian experts to get the other side's point of view. Create a network of experts that you can consult. Uh, Also, I think it's important for journalists to visit the affected communities to get the voice of the stakeholders. So Indian journalists should come down, if they're doing a report on Tista, to Rangpur site and talk to Bangladeshi farmers there and people living there. What are the problems of drinking water, of irrigation, sustainability? Similarly, Bangladeshi journalists should go to West Bengal, especially to North Bengal, and see what the problems are there, what the water requirements are. This is the way to balance reportage on transboundary sharing of resources. Without this, you will only write jingoistic stuff, nationalistic stuff, and that rhetoric will be determined by the interested political parties which are governing the countries at that point of time.
Yes, sir. Precisely, sir. I would like to have a follow up on this question because, as you mentioned in your response, that uh, uh, I have got the clear vision of what 360 Info plays in this role. That they are reflecting experts' opinions, but that is totally different from media, as you have mentioned as well, that media persons are not very much expert in particular issues, but and as a result, you have suggested them to be trained on international law and other water sharing issues like transboundary issues. But sir, isn't it very much limited opportunities for for both of our media outlets uh, to educate our journalists on particular issues, because there is a very restrained, but there are very limited number of journalists. So when we'll be categorizing them into other sections, like some journalists will be covering international law based issues, some journalists will cover transboundary water sharing issues. So,
Yeah,
sir,
can I stop you there?
yes, sir.
I've
Definitely.
understood your question,
Yes,
but
sir.
I didn't say that journalists should go for training. I said educate yourself. You've
Yes.
got the internet before you. If you do transboundary sharing of rivers, you will get n number of articles on it. You will get the UN Treaty on shared waters, rivers,
I understood.
aquifers.
I
You
understood.
will also get good practices of water sharing. Educate yourself.
Yes, sir.
Not necessarily wait for somebody to send you for a training program,
Yes, sir.
and take the initiative. If you want to write about these issues, then you have to educate yourself a little bit on existing
Yes.
treaties and existing laws, why some of them are successful, why some of them fail.
So, so your basic message is to educate on everyone's own perspective, and to educate
And educate
on his
yourself
own.
about other people's
Yes,
perspective as
yes,
well.
yes, sir. Precisely, but I believe this will take a longer moment of time to cope with the running situation, because this is not something to achieve in one day.
So short-term solution is to use services like 360 Info.
Yes, sir.
We are offering that service to
Yeah.
newspapers and to news platforms, saying that here are experts. We've done articles on Indus Water Treaty,
Yes, sir.
as Assembly of South Asia
I have
University.
gone through one article yesterday night that was pretty detailed and insightful, which is very appreciable. So, sir, first question is quite understandable. So, if I move to our second question, well, like, there is no numbered question, but the next question would be that uh, the monsoon revolution that we experienced, the world experienced in what happened in July 2024 in Bangladesh, that ousting the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh. The monsoon revolution has proved that authoritarian climate pragmatism, quote unquote climate pragmatism, is fragile. So, how can India, as a our democratic neighbor of many South Asian countries, ensure its technical assistance to Bangladesh's newly formed interim government, uh, and at the same time it will ensure that doesn't inadvertently empower future autocrats, because the Sheikh Hasina's regime previously weaponized climate projects uh, to suppress the dissent among our native people. For example, we can say the controversial Rampal power plant protest, when our protesters were protesting, their voices were suppressed by the previous regime. So, how can India, as a democratic neighbor, assure its assistance to our newly
So
formed
first of all, let me say that climate pragmatism was not limited only to authoritarian regimes.
Yes.
Climate pragmatism is basically looking for short-term solutions, tactical solutions to climate change,
practical solutions?
and tactical, not
Yes.
long-term, not strategic. Uh, it's not necessarily bad, but uh, it has limitations. It has limitations because it is short-term. It does not engage with climate science deeply. It doesn't try to find long-term solutions. This can happen under authoritarian regimes. It can also happen under non-authoritarian regimes. So your second question was really how to give a voice to stakeholders. Now, voice has to be given to stakeholders by the country they reside in.
Yes.
It is for Bangladesh to give a voice to the people who are affected either by Rampal project or by Tista or by the water sharing at Faraka Barrage. That cannot be Government of India's responsibility. But can India help Bangladesh? Yes, it can help Bangladesh through technical collaboration. Not only technical government to government collaboration, but also through public diplomacy, to creating a narrative between the people of India and Bangladesh, how this cooperation is helpful to both the countries. Uh, whether you have an authoritarian government or a non-authoritarian government really is your business.
Yes, sir.
You have to elect the right kind of government.
Yes.
That cannot be the responsibility of India, and it should not be the responsibility
Yes.
of India.
I understand, sir, because but sir, I asked you that how can India, as a democratic neighbor, can ensure that the assistance they are giving to interim government, but they are planning to give our newly formed interim government doesn't inadvertently empower future autocrats. I was not talking about the issue in the responsibility to ensure or assure of our every voice is counted, every voice is heard. But I was talking about that how India, as India has been a very good neighbor of us since our liberation, since our independence. But how can they ensure that, unlike what has happened to Hasina, is not will not be repeated in
So
future?
basically, you're saying that don't put your eggs in one basket. But
Yes,
interim government is interim by definition.
yes, sir.
So whatever the collaboration is with them will be always less than what it will be with a democratically elected government.
Yes, sir.
If, I mean, I don't speak for the Indian government, but if I were the Indian government, I would say that this question will become meaningful when an elected government is in place once again in Bangladesh. And India, I'm sure, like all democratic countries, would learn from its past mistakes of having supported a particular individual and a particular regime.
Yes.
I think what you should support is the people of that country. What you need to help are the people of Bangladesh. Those are the people who will keep this relationship going, not who comes in power, whether whether it's an interim government or whether it's
It's
an
a
elected
very
government.
very clear message. We so the democratic process is here first to ensure every other thing
No, the
related.
people are important.
Yes,
The
sir. But
people
the
in that
people are the ones who will ensure the democratic process. So, sir, uh, so precisely, thank you so much, sir. Now, if we move forward, I have another question that I would like to know about your perception about and one thing that you have we all know that Bangladesh has recently approved Chinese funding for the Tista River Comprehensive Management Project, which has been under discussion previously in our first session.
Yeah.
Where India has been having a long term stance of objection in this particular matter, that India has been objecting us in terms of approving Chinese investment in this Tista River Comprehensive Management Project. So my question is, uh, you are definitely not a spokesperson of Indian government, but
That I'm not.
yes, sir. So I really want to know your personal perception, personal statement on this thing. How should India reconcile its strategic anxieties about Chinese involvement in the Tista with Bangladesh's urgent need for flood mitigation? Uh, sir, let me play the question plus. Thank you. Because flood has been a key shape making, or has been making a key role in the bilateral relationship between India and Bangladesh, and by the bilateral discussion about among its public and does Delhi risk losing diplomatic capital by prioritizing geopolitical competition over climate solidarity? So what's your take on this?
So I think first of all, Bangladesh must understand, and Bangladeshi people must understand why India has strategic anxieties of Chinese activity in the East flood mitigation project. It's far too close to our border, and that's not the only project that's happening. An airport nearby is also being given to the Chinese. Chinese planes will land there, take off from there, and we are particularly vulnerable in a Siliguri corridor. All these activities are taking far too close for India's comfort. So I'm saying once you understand that, you will also understand why India is anxious. It's not because Indians hate Bangladeshis. That's not true at all. But having said that, what should India do? I mean, India should have been offering technical and economic cooperation to Bangladesh for flood mitigation in the Tista. We are your closest neighbor. So India should have done that. India should have taken the initiative in that. And similarly, India should have done a lot of public diplomacy with people downstream of the Teesta, telling them that this is what we are doing and this is for the good of both the countries. And as far as countering China is concerned, I think China could be countered through other kind of regional cooperation. India, US, Japan, France, Australia, they could all come together and put up a plan that is counter to China's plan. So every plan has to be countered by an alternative plan. It cannot just be negated by saying we don't like it. Well, you don't like it, lump it. Either you come with an alternative, yes, or keep quiet. So India should have come with an alternative plan.
Uh, Precisely, sir. India should have, as you say. But what do you think, Iman? Is there any possibility to India come up with such alternative where our interim government has already approved Chinese?
How, if your government has already approved, what can India do?
Yes, sir.
India can't do anything.
Yes. Then, sir, my question was this: that how would India reconcile this situation?
We've been left with no choice but to reconcile.
Yes, sir. Then uh, here I can add something to this because uh, previously our previous regime that has been ousted has talking with Indian government with a plan is which is called CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which assured Bangladesh of bilateral relationship with India. But bypassing that, our newly formed interim government has approved or sent a formal letter to the another regional corporation like RCP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which includes 15 ASEAN countries along with 5 investor countries, total 20 countries. So, visibly here by agreeing to RCP, Bangladesh can engage with 20 countries. 20 countries. They, while by CEPA, Bangladesh can only engage with India. So, visibly, when you or I am the place of a policymaker of a country, uh, we will definitely and naturally go for the bigger prospect naturally. So, uh, isn't it obvious for India to understand this phenomena and not object, not object this type of decision of a state that shape public opinion in India's domestic people and which create a visible boundary, a visible wall between two neighboring countries' people.
Are you saying that these two agreements are mutually exclusive? I don't think so. If Bangladesh as a nation says, I will trade only with these 20 countries, is that a tenable situation? You will trade with as many as possible.
Yes.
You could have both agreements.
Yes.
You could have a comprehensive trade agreement with India. You could also have a similar agreement with 20 other countries, 25 other countries,
Sir, may I stop
180
here?
other countries.
So may I stop you here?
Please.
Thank you so much, sir, for your approval. But here is the twist. Here comes the twist that there was a condition. There's a condition before CEPA, which was with India, that we cannot join RCEP to be with CEPA to be with India. So there is a question from India's side. There is a condition from India's side, my bad. Condition from India's side. So what you said just now that while we can have both, but there is a condition, there is a restraint, there's a constraint behind not having this condition, not having this opportunity.
Did the interim government tell government of India that let us renegotiate the comprehensive partnership? No. If the interim government is acting in a manner which Indian establishment might see as, let's say, to rile it, to keep it out, to exclude it, what can India do? It can only disagree.
Yes.
Because this question you should be asking the interim government that why did you not renegotiate with India? Maybe it's all agreements are renegotiable. It hadn't been signed.
Yes.
So renegotiate it. But or they went and did this. So what was the motivation? Ask them.
So there might be a possibility of
I
renegotiation.
don't know. I don't know. I don't negotiate trade on behalf of India, but I'm saying generally, if an agreement has not been signed, means it is open for renegotiation. If a new government has come in Bangladesh, if it wants to renegotiate, it should approach India. That it did not approach shows bad faith on the part of your interim government, not on part of India.
We all know that Trump has returned to White House again, and a potential administration could withdraw from global climate agreements, where Trump has already withdrawn from Paris Climate Agreement. You all know, well, the world know that. But withdrawing from like other similar agreements might affect climate funding for global South or South Asian countries. So my question is to you, sir, is that if the US retreats from climate financing, how should South Asian nations counterbalance this by leveraging partnerships with the European Union or China? Does India's climate leadership amidst this region rhetoric, climate leadership rhetoric, match India's capacity to assist the neighbors?
What is India's climate rhetoric leadership in this region? If you want to know what the alternative is
Yes.
to US climate finance, you've answered it partially. It is to get EU, if EU is willing to fill in that gap, if EU is willing to fill that financial gap. The other is to go to ADB. ADB does climate finance. Green Climate Fund is there. Use Green Climate Fund. Also set up regional cooperation between South Asian countries for climate finance and have private-public partnership. Why does every question have to be China versus India? No, it could be regional
Yes.
cooperation between South Asian countries. It could be cooperation with EU. And as I said, use a private sector, Asian Development Bank. There are so many institutions. Yes, sir. But you guys seem to be obsessed with China versus India.
Because, sir, we are here for the conference on South Asia and exclusive of Asia.
China is not part of South Asia.
Yes, sir. But mainly, we are talking about Asian countries, and we no one can deny that there has been a visible competition between India and China on many aspects.
Yes,
And
there would be.
yeah,
Would
sir.
be. Both are
And
growing
this is
economies.
why, and this is the reason that led to questions like this versus India
So
versus
let me
China.
say that India's neighbors, because of India's size, always try and play the China card against India. But the fact is, there is no China card. It's a bogey. Nepal tried to play with the China card. Sri Lanka tried to play the China card. Now Bangladesh is playing the China card. It is a completely unproductive exercise. What we should be looking for is regional cooperation within South Asia, alternative mechanisms. As you yourself said, EU. Why don't you ask EU that would you be countering China? Are you upset with China? Let China do what China has to do, and let South Asia do what it needs to do.
Sir, yeah, here I have a follow-up question to you that uh, I don't know about other countries, but I really want to know from you that how Bangladesh is playing the China card, as you mentioned.
Your questions all the time you say,
But sir,
is the China is the alternative always between EU and China? Where is the third alternative, which is South Asian cooperation, which is what this conference is all about?
exactly, sir. That here my second part of the question was that India's climate leadership, which might be in existence, might not be in existence. So here I mentioned about three alternatives. Against the US, that the EU, China or India. And but exclusively kept India separate from EU and China, because first reason was you are from India. Then second reason was India is our closest neighbor. India shares the majority of borders with us. So this is the reason why I wanted to know.
That's
from you
okay.
that
I'm not.
climate leadership.
I didn't mean
Yes, sir.
this as a criticism of you.
No,
I'm saying that
yes, sir.
you're not talking about South Asian regional cooperation. You're talking of India or India's leadership. India is one of the 7 South Asian countries.
Yes, sir.
Is there a possibility in your mind of cooperation between these 7 countries on climate finance or not? I think there is. Is there a possibility of these countries involving Asian Development Bank or not? I think there is. Can they leverage the Green Climate Fund? I think they can.
Yes, sir. Totally, I understand that. But sir, my question was, how can India? I was not comparing with India with anything, or comparing India to anything. But my question was that how can India play a leading role here? Because I believe India is a state of a large territory, a large population, much potential, and they are already on their run to be a regional, regional influential power, or like anything guides guides the South Asian narrative or South Asian cooperation or anything related to South Asia. There is something to do with India. So, in terms of climate financing, what India can offer?
I don't know. This question you should really ask our Minister for Environment. You know how much India is willing to fund climate finance. But if there is regional cooperation, I'm sure India would not be found wanting.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much for your time, and for your insightful responses to us. It has been a very very decisive and very insightful discussion. Thank you so for having us. So, uh, finally, we can say that rather than uh, forcing India to do anything, that we should go for regional cooperation for the climate financing and anything related to climate in South Asia.
Nobody can force India to do anything.
Yes.
India will do what is in the interest of the region.
Yes.
That you can rest assured. So regional cooperation, yes. Forcing India, I don't think that's a good way of putting it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for everything having us.